welcome to my channel. This is The Amateur, where we're here just to talk life, hobbies, politics, ideologies, what have you. And on today's episode, we're going to be reacting to the viral video of Professor Kiara and Bridges, I believe, in response to Senator Hawley. So as far as I understand, with everything that went down, the Senate has held a hearing, like a judiciary hearing, following the overruling of Roe versus Wade, where they discussed the impacts and the repercussions of the ruling. And so, from my understanding, I haven't been able to watch the full video. I'm not really sure where to find it, to be quite honest, but just like reading some articles that kind of summarized it, they brought in some experts, quote unquote, those who are for abortion, those who are against abortion, to talk about legalization. And for a lot of the women, because it was all women that were speaking, they were saying women's rights. It was a women's rights issue. And then this leads us to Professor Kiara Bridges. I hope I'm saying it's Bridges, and her testimony or her statements when being asked by Senator Hawley. And I'm just going to go through it as like the short clip is like maybe less than 2 minutes, and just kind of break that down. Yeah.
You said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't real.
Okay, so pause. So pretty much what she's trying to do here is delineate between women, trans men, and non-binary people who have uteruses, but in all of human history, the only people to have uteruses are women. And so I think the issue is, again, there's a biological understanding of women, and then now there's a legal understanding of a woman, which are unfortunately not the same thing. And so technically, biologically woman, a biological woman, like I wish there was only one way to be a woman, but right now there's not. But only women can give birth, only women can have pregnancies, and that's okay. Non-binary woman, trans men, women, women. So only women have the ability to have a child. And it's not, and I think there was an argument as far as like, well, what if the uterus doesn't work, or what if a woman is infertile? Does that no longer make her a woman? It's like, no, that's not what that means. I think I've said this before, like being female, like the definition of woman, adult human female, is not a testament of how well the femaleness functions. It's just that's what it is, So it's what it's natured to do, or what it's expected or supposed to do. A man going into an abortion clinic requesting an abortion, there should, like, some heads should be raised. Like, you don't have a uterus, you don't have eggs, you don't have the capacity to actually carry a child, so you can't abort anything. That's just, it is what it is, okay?
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so...
Okay, so pretty much with her bug eyes and sass, she's trying to say, like, it's not just women who can give birth, even though it is just women who can give birth. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the logic of this. So she doesn't answer the question. So again, like, the problem with where Senator Hawley's line of questioning is going is just the fact that they're making this seem like it's a women's rights issue, but it isn't a women's rights issue according to according to them and their logic. So he's just trying to ask for clarification on, if it's not actually women's rights that you're fighting for, then what is it? And I guess they would say birthing people. I can't with that.
All right, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
Because of
for
my
us-
line of questioning? So
Because-
we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that trans
dangerous.
people
Yeah,
ex-
so one, she doesn't answer the question. She only retorts with calling him transphobic, which again, like this is, I don't get how stuff like this is permissible in these types of settings. It's just like, answer the question. But would you be a politician if you actually answered the question the way it was supposed to be? That's a question. But yeah, so she responds by saying your line of questioning is transphobic, but it's like, what the purpose of this hearing is to ask for clarification for the people to say what they actually mean and to get their point and their intent across. Whether Senator Hawley was being condescending or whether his tone was haughty or he already had an answer in mind or whatever is besides the point. Like for her, it's to be that field that she's supposed gender study law professor. Like, this is a law professor. This is why our justice system is the way it is. When we can't recognize basic truths, we don't know how to define word. Like, that's the whole purpose. I think I mentioned this in another video, so I won't harp on it too much. But it's just like, how can we determine if what law has or has not been done if we can't even determine a common reality, you know? So, very problematic. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'm
It's
denying that trans
dangerous.
people exist by
Are
asking
you?
you if you're
Are
talking
you?
about women
Are you?
having pregnancies.
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom?
So I want to pause there, and this is not to get on them. It's like for her and the statistics that she reports. It's like, one, he asked if this line of questioning opens up transgendered personnel to violence, and her response is that they purport the violence on themselves. It's not other people. She doesn't give a statistic of other people doing actual physical violence. She talks about them being unable to cope with or manage the realities of this world, and so they act violently upon themselves, which is not the same thing. 2, she acts as if transgender people are the only people who commit suicide, which is unfortunate. That's not what we want for anybody or any group of people, but to put them apart as if they're somehow the only ones that go through this I don't know what I'm trying to say, existential crisis where their meaning and their purpose in life is questioned. They don't have drive, they don't have purpose, they don't have motivation, they don't see any good in the world or anything. Like the things that bring people to commit such a horrible act upon themselves. Like, it's, again, suicide is a horrible thing, but to again, she brings this up in a situation where he's asking about his questioning is going to cause somebody else to commit suicide. Like that, the logic there just doesn't make sense. And if that were to be the actual case, then that person has something else that's going on, and it's nothing to do with the questioning. Like, questioning shouldn't cause someone to inflict harm upon themselves. That just doesn't make sense to me. But we'll keep on going.
Are students allowed to question you, or are they
Absolutely.
also treated like this, where
No,
they're
they're
told
allowed
that
to
they're
question.
opening up people to
Oh,
violence?
we have a good
by
time in my
questioning?
class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot
I
just in this
know,
exchange.
absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, so she's like this. She's putting words in his mouth because he didn't deny that trans people existed. All he said was that it's women who can get pregnant, and the two aren't mutually exclusive. So she wants to use that phrasing, mutually exclusive, meaning cannot happen at the same time, meaning that you can either have a man or you can have a woman, but you can't have both. They're mutual. Men and women are mutually exclusive groups. If we're talking biologically, if we're talking about characteristics, then there's definitely some overlap. But the are you like not? Oh my gosh, Like, are we children? Is like, again, I don't get how this is allowable in court. And then the video that the clip that I played is pretty short, but I just know that it goes on to continue where he's just asking, like, is this how you would treat your students? And it's like, she's supposed to be a professor. She's supposed to be a professor of law, which I've taken a law class, and it did not go like this. Like, all they did was explain, this is how, like, this is the Constitution, this is how the law is interpreted, these are the things that you have to think about. Law is supposed to be logical. You can't have logic thinking when it's based on emotions. Like, it's just, the two are mutually exclusive. I keep saying that. It's not, you can have logical thinking and emotions. I just want to say that. So ignore that. Ignore the last part. But other things that I've heard coming out of this hearing as well, there's two other clips that I found very, it was pretty telling of the alternate side. And so one of the issues that was brought up was the fact that pro-life or anti-abortion clinics or pregnancy crisis clinics were being attacked. And I know there's a statement like Elizabeth Warren and some other people are shouting that they're tricking women. Like, the logic there just doesn't make sense, even though it's supposed to be a woman's choice, but by woman's choice, that means they must choose death. That's what they mean by woman's choice, and it's just gross. It's just absolutely gross. But there was another clip, I believe, where another senator was asked the panel, where would you say that life begins? If they just want to know, like, this is an issue of where life begins, supposedly, or something along those lines. They'll deny that and just say it's about women's rights. But you can't have the women's rights without life. Like, you can't. I'll get to that later, but essentially one of the senators asked, was like, where would you define where life begins? And it was just silence.
Thank you. As all remarks are supposed to be directed to the chair, Madam Speaker, when is a life a life? Madam Speaker, when is a life a life? I'll open it up to the rest of my colleagues over there. I would wager none of my colleagues on the other side will tell us when life begins. I got a $20 bill here. It's not worth as much as it used to be worth. I'll put it down here on the table. Any one of you or your colleagues wants to speak up and tell us when life begins, it's sitting here for you. Madam Speaker, when is a life a life? When does it begin? That's the most extreme idea to come out of this body, that you won't acknowledge when a life is a life.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Has it expired? I'll leave the $20 bill here, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman's time has expired.
If you want to answer,
the gentleman's time has expired.
It was like silence for like 2 minutes at least, or however long the time he had, and then his time was up and he had to go. And then there was another senator who asked the panel, I can't remember what he asked. I'll see if I can't find the clip.
Right now, the Supreme Court says it's back with the states. I've been a believer on this issue from the get-go. You do not demonize the folks you disagree with, and you make sure that, in this case, when we have returned this to the people, we make the right decisions at the state level. I'd like to ask you, though, when it comes to when your state grapples with it, at what age do you think gestationally it's no longer appropriate to have an abortion? I'd like to know your opinion.
Sorry, Senator, could you repeat your question, please? I am not a medical provider. I have no standing to make any statements about medical limits. What I am here to do is to share with you all my personal story of abortion access and to highlight how my mother's story of abortion access was so very different and how much changed in just one generation. But I'm sorry, are you asking me to consider an abortion not a medical procedure? Because I believe that it is health care. I'm sorry, could you please repeat that question? I'm not sure how to separate health care from an abortion.
Excuse me, Senator, are you asking me a question? Are you asking
Same
Brandy
question
a
I asked Ms. Stetzer.
I apologize, I was confused. I'm Dr. Brandy, thank you. I think what you're trying to bring up is abortion care later in pregnancy. And I understand people have very different opinions about what that looks like and how they feel comfortable regarding different gestational age limits. But I think talking about these hypothetical scenarios doesn't actually respect the pregnant people that I take care of every day that have varying circumstances. And as a physician, I think the most prudent thing is to listen to their stories, assess their own medical risks, depending on where they are in pregnancy, and help them decide what's best for them. I think bans based on a gestational age, whatever that gestational age is, just create barriers to care and don't actually improve the safety of care, which is what I care about most for my patients. That hypothetical that I think is brought up quite a bit actually is not what abortion care looks like on a day-to-day basis. Abortion care after 20 weeks is about 1% of pregnancy. And I think by focusing on that, you delegitimize and you disrespect a lot of the patients that are seeking this care for very legitimate and important reasons.
Ms. Swindell, would you like to weigh in?
Sure. I believe in what all the medical textbooks say. I'm not a medical professional, but life begins at the beginning. And there's an amazing spark that occurs when the sperm and the egg meet and a new embryo is formed. And I believe in respecting all stages of life and development. I think that's an important part of human rights and also women's health care. And so I believe in what the medical textbooks say. I believe in biology. I believe in science. And frankly, it's not rocket science. Life begins at the beginning.
Thank you, and I respect all of your opinions and ask the question because of how difficult it is to answer and why this should be left with the states, with the people within the states to make that decision.
But essentially, all he was doing was he was trying to give, he wasn't even trying to defend abortion. He wasn't trying to attack abortion. He just wanted to give the panel members an opportunity to express their opinions and belief. I think it was something about when should they, the moment, I think the question was how far into the pregnancy should abortion be allowed or something along those lines, and a lot of the pro-abortion people could not answer that question, or they just wouldn't answer the question. And it's just like you could just it's always interesting. It sucks, but it's just always interesting to see how many ways that people just don't answer the question or they avoid the question. But he asked the question to those who were for abortion. He asked the question to those who were against abortion. The woman who was against abortion was able to answer it very quickly and easily. But the point of the matter, though, was that he wasn't trying to do a gotcha, even though they got themselves by not answering the question to what they actually wanted or seemed to be the case. But it was just, the point of the matter, though, was for him to point out that because of the wide varying beliefs and opinions and thoughts on when abortion should or shouldn't be terminated, that this is something that needs to go to the people and for the people to decide and not the courts, which is what a lot of people were still arguing about and for. But again, like, the whole point of this little rant is just to note that you can't have any other right without the right to life. And that is as evident as a woman saying, well, if I can't have abortion, I'll have all these problems and these pregnancy issues, or I'll be scared, or all these other things. And somebody could just say, well, just kill you. We'll just kill you. We'll just kill you, and that'll end all your suffering. That'll end all that'll stop the pregnancy. If we kill you, that'll stop the pregnancy. It'll stop your child from growing. You won't have to go through all the other things. And you see where that logic goes. Like, yeah, you could stop a lot of things if you just killed the person off. And that's the issue with freaking Thanos, all the other people who are shouting overpopulation or there's a food crisis, and their plan is just to, if we just kill half the people of this world, then yeah, the shortage is there, but also you've killed half the people of this world. You know what I mean? And sure, that eliminates things, but you don't have the life to live it and enjoy it. So that's why life is important. You can't do anything else unless you have that right to your life, and that's why it's so important. And obviously this is a debate that's going to keep continuing until, again, I'm calling that an amendment will be made, hopefully without having to go through a civil war first like the last time, but we'll see. But what the heck do I know? I'm just an amateur. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.